Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a special treat for you. And would you believe, for an all-time low price of $60, you can have yourself an action camera that you can go diving with. Not bad. In this video, I'm going to share with you what this action camera is, what it can do for you, and how it compares to some other action cameras on the market. So stay tuned. This is the IceFox. One thing I want to be clear about straight off the bat is this is a sponsored video in the way I'm not getting paid to show this thing, but IceFox did send this camera to me for free to review on this channel, and so this is an exciting opportunity for me to share this with you, as I hope to be able to review more gear in the future in such a manner. My goal with all of these is to give you a fair and unbiased opinion on dive gear by an experienced diver for divers and how it can benefit us divers. And I do want to mention, if you're interested in the IceFox, by the end of this video, I have a link in the description you can click on, and if you buy it through that link, I will get a small percentage of that sale, and it supports the channel. But again, you choose if you like what you see. All right, let's dive on in to the IceFox camera. First things first, I want to show you the unboxing. The unboxing of this thing is quite amazing, being it is an action camera and it comes in a fairly small box, and you can see all these little parts that come with it. Quite a bit of pieces so that you can use it for biking, hiking, free diving, scuba diving. There's a lot of stuff in this kit, so you can really use this thing in a lot of different ways. But of course, my focus here is how it can help us with scuba diving. It comes with two 1350 milliamp hour batteries, a charging station. What's cool is a remote clicker, of course not very applicable for scuba diving, but might be handy in other ways, and a ton of different mounts. And it's a basic screw, so if you have any like other action camera accessories, it basically will fit everything that you may already have. So that's cool. It is worth noting, it doesn't come with an SD card or these little dry packets that you probably want on your dive housing to make sure there's no moisture in there. So make sure you get those separately. And it doesn't come with a dive stick. It does come with a wrist mount so that you could put this on your wrist. But if you're like me and prefer something more traditional like a selfie stick, you can go ahead and mount it just the same. I mean, it has the common screw in, and this is the actual dive housing for the IceFox. So what's exciting about this camera? It's a 4K camera with image stabilization and a battery that can last about 2 hours. Continuous runtime. So honestly, you're probably not recording your whole dive. You're probably going to turn it on and off strategically. So realistically, one battery can last a whole 3 to 5 dives a day. Probably more reasonably 3 to 4 dives in a day. For some, maybe just 2, in which this battery will power through those dives no problem. If you do like to film almost all of your dive, then probably after 2 dives, you probably need to swap out the battery. But the camera comes with 2 batteries, so you're in luck. Some things I want to point out on the camera is what's externally available. So this is without the dive housing. There's just an on and off button on the top. On the front, you have this little front screen. The back is a touchscreen, and it works fairly well. Obviously not something you can have access to while diving. You have 2 buttons on the side, which is a little bit unique because honestly, these action cameras usually just have 1 button. So you kind of have options. One will give you the settings menu, which is kind of cool because usually in diving, I haven't worked with an action camera that it can actually get to the settings. So if you set your settings wrong, you can actually fix it on the dive, which is nice, honestly. And then you have a mode selection, which there are a ton of modes, and it can be a little overwhelming, to be honest. Honestly, I don't change modes too often. Usually when I'm diving, it's going to either be photo or video exclusively. On the side, you have 1 USB-C port and a place for your SD card. So fairly simplistic. There is no HDMI output. I don't really use it too often, but I want to call out just in case you're expecting one. just a port for the battery inside. That's all there is to the inside of it, and a screw in for if you're trying to mount this on some accessory. So that's pretty cool for a small little package like this. And again, it's only $60, so that's really competitive deal. So how hard is it using the camera? I am kind of a person who likes to just kind of take a product and figure it out, and usually it takes me pretty far. And if I start having a hard time, then I go read the instruction manual. So did I have to read the instruction manual or not? I feel I got a pretty good gist of taking this camera on dives, and it was fairly intuitive, so I didn't really need to read the instruction manual. Yeah, so charging time 2.5 hours. We have the video resolutions up to 20 megabytes. Then 4K resolution, which is really cool. Battery capacity is 1,350 milliamp hours, and recording time is about 90 minutes at 4K. That's quite nice. I think that's above and beyond for like a GoPro. 90 minutes is plenty of time. And I had a good time with the camera. It worked fairly well. So you're probably wondering to yourself, how was the camera? So I took a DJI Action 5 along with the IceFox for side-by-side comparison, and you can kind of see how these shots came out. I did 4 dives in all with the camera across 2 different days to kind of get a good basis for it, and I also took the camera running because I wanted to see how it took the colors during the daytime, how it dealt with the image stabilization, and so you can kind of get an idea of how it looks during the daytime as well. I did take my own light, which was a Sola, and it is mounted with the Action 5. So it did have a little bit of a cheat because I was literally 2-fisting action cameras, which maybe not the easiest, but I was trying to make sure I could get some side shots, but obviously the light had some favoritism to my action. With that said, the footage came out just fine. Actually, it was pretty good. You can kind of see that the Action 5, it comes out quite a bit more crisp, if you will, a little bit more clean, a little bit more clear than the IceFox. The IceFox was a touch grainy and the colors weren't quite as popping. So there is room for improvement, but for a budget camera performance, I think it held up pretty well. You be the judge. This was cold water diving, and the first day I took it out, the visibility was total crap. You can kind of see it in the shots. So it wasn't necessarily, a beautiful reef with crystal clear waters. Nah, this is in our Puget Sound harbor on a night dive with the starfish spawning, and it just destroyed the visibility. So, I did the best I could, and you can kind of see a little bit of colors, especially with the crabs and some of the fish and the algae, and some beautiful shots of Seattle. One thing I do want to mention about the camera is, off the website, it's only rated down to 30 meters, which is really at the recreational limit. You can actually, with deep diving, be going down to 40 meters, which is the definitive recreational limit. Most things will be 30 meters. And honestly, if you're taking videos of things, you probably want some natural light. So 30 meters seems reasonable, but my biggest complaint about the camera is that it's not rated down to something like 50 or 60 meters, which is well past the recreational limit, and it just kind of creates a little bit of safety buffer for the camera. I'd hate to, accidentally go down to 34 meter and break the camera. That would be a bad day. So my biggest hope for improvement with this camera is to go ahead and improve the case to be down to 50 or 60 meters. If they can get there, then it's gonna be a really nice scuba diving camera. But with that said, for most divers, 30 meters is okay, because that's usually as far as you need to go. There's really not too much interesting things past the 30 meter mark, so diving there is fairly rare anyways. But something to consider and something to keep in mind. If you do take this camera diving, there's a better reason to not go below 30 meters. And I did mention that when I took it for a run, you can see that the images are a little bit grainy. I didn't take the Action 5 to compare it on the run. That would be kind of entertaining, running with 2 action cameras. Maybe the looks that people would give me would be entertaining. But I did pull it out on a run on a kind of around sunset time, and you can see the colors and see how it was getting some of the coloration, and the image stabilization was quite surprising. You do see that it has, while I'm running, so I am running up and down, but it still stays fairly stable. So I was impressed with the image stabilization. It held up fairly well. And further, you can see the last day I was diving with it, with a little bit better visibility, it performed admirably. I did take this thing right down to 30 meters and I tested it out and it never flooded, so it handled that like a champ. I'd be very cautious of going deeper, but it held out quite well. I did need to have my external light for good colors, and that's normal. All action cameras are going to be like that. I couldn't really get a good beat of how well it does in dark images because I do have my own light anyways. So that's not a problem, and honestly, if you're a videographer, you probably need to bring your own light if you want good shots regardless. So now let's talk about how to view the photos and videos. If you're like me, I rarely want to see a video on that small little screen. So my first thought is, how do I get the things off of there? Well, just for you, IceFox has an app, and you can see me poking through the app here and playing around with it. And so that's the app. It kind of crashed on me. I used it a few more times since. It's fairly stable, so maybe that was a one-time thing. I will say software can always be improved. As a software engineer myself, I know how buggy these things are, especially when they're new. Software can always be improved. It's the hardware that you want to make sure works fairly well. And I can say the camera never crashed on me. It never restarted or did anything super unpredictable. It was fairly reliable in that sense. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and figure out how to use the app. One thing I wanted to call out here is it's called Snap Pro. So I don't know if you're like me, but I like my apps to be named after the associated product, because like when I'm thinking IceFox camera, I like to find the IceFox app, because it can be really hard to remember Snap Pro is for IceFox, especially when you have hundreds of apps. But anyways, it's called Snap Pro. I've already registered and I showed you that process. It's fairly straightforward. I'm doing this live, trying to figure out which one this is. Oh, this is I8. Okay, I got it. Okay, I8, the I8 designation here. Otherwise, it wasn't super obvious. Okay, I got it. Then going to, okay, while using app, connect device to Wi-Fi. I'm already connected. Okay, so you can access all the system settings from your camera here. So if you wanted to, not have to deal with that on the camera itself, it's a little bit different UI. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and preview the camera. Oh, that's cool. So here's our camera. We can kind of see a little bit of the IceFox gear here, and see, it can start recording. Not recording anything interesting, but that's possible. And you can have different modes, put it in. And probably the most important thing here is it's going to be this media. I think being able to see what's on the camera. So this is cool that I can see live the different videos I took, which I took it diving down to, it's not great because the visibility was horrible. You can see how horrible the visibility is here. So I'm actually going to take this thing out for more dives, but it did hold up like a champ in some cold water diving conditions. So, and this is a night dive as well, so it worked fairly well. And you can kind of see all gearing up. Nice view of Seattle here. Anyways, so there's the app in a nutshell. Okay, so now let's talk about who is this camera for. Let's first talk about its strengths. The price point is substantially lower in comparison to competitors, and that is significant. And you get a lot of things out of the box. As you've seen, it's pretty impressive, all the different things that it comes with, including 2 batteries, rechargeable, great battery life, dive housing, a remote control, and a ton of attachment points, including a wrist mount, an app, and of course the camera, which is fairly intuitive out of the box, hardly any setup. I mean, I literally just took this thing out of the box and I took it diving, so that's nice as well. Especially, I like to keep things simple. While I'm diving, I don't want to worry about having to hit a whole bunch of buttons, especially when my main focus needs to be on the dive. So simpler you can make it, the better, and this performs. It could be a little bit simpler, but it's fairly good to go. The image quality and the video could be a little bit improved. You can see from the Action 5, it does have better quality. So is it the best quality? No, but it is competitive and it has room for improvement in future iterations. I hope they continue to build on top of what they've done already. And of course, I feel the dive housing should be rated a little bit higher. 30 meters is right on that line that makes it a little iffy. Imagine if it was 50 or 60 meter, you wouldn't have to worry about it at all, at least for recreational diving. Oh, and one strength that I forgot, image stabilization. That's great, and it's out of the box, and it works fairly well, you can see for yourself. So, who's the product for? I would say for anyone looking for a fairly affordable camera. Honestly, if your main focus is stills, and I've seen individuals with those big old cameras, they like to have a little camera on top just in case they need some action cam video. And so this is great for those instances that you just want to make sure you see things, just to make sure you don't miss things while you're taking your stills. Also, if you're a fairly new diver and still trying to figure out how to get into the sport, buying one of these for the cost means that you don't need to worry about a more expensive camera flooding or being damaged. You can take one of these with you for a very affordable price and be able to capture all your memories while diving. Most other cameras, you'll need to buy the camera itself and the dive housing and potentially other accessories, while this is fairly straightforward right out of the box. You might just need a selfie stick, or perhaps you might want to just take a backup camera. Sometimes things go wrong and your main camera gets broken, and so it's nice to have a backup camera, especially if you're something on like a liveaboard down in Socorro or Galapagos, far from civilization. You know, imagine if your main camera got busted. Bring one of these along for its relative cheap cost, and you can take that thing with you and still get all your memories and not have to go home disappointed you lost all those opportunities to capture those moments. And another strength that I forgot to add, this thing is very light. I was very impressed with its weight. So it's fairly travel friendly in that regard as well. So that is the IceFox 4K footage, 60 frames per second in a small, affordable package. I hope you truly enjoyed this review of this action camera, as I would love to be able to bring more scuba diving gear and do more of this review kind of thing, improve my format and consistently get better so that you have a better idea of popular scuba gear. If you'd like to support me, of course, I'm always looking for feedback, so if you like this format or if you think things can improve, let me know and I'll improve on future videos. Drop me a comment below of what you think about the IceFox and what other gear you'd like me to review in the future. And in the meantime, if you're looking for less product-specific advice, I have a perfect playlist that tries to go over a lot of the main scuba gear pieces in a generic fashion as much as I can. And those aren't sponsored, but I hope they're very helpful to you. Check those out here, and until next time.